This is the story of Joaquín Guzmán Lora, better known as El Chapo, the notorious drug lord who escaped from prison twice and became one of the most wanted men in the world. But before he rose to fame and infamy, he was a poor boy from a rural town in Mexico who dreamed of a better life. El Chapo was born in 1957 in La Tuna, a small village in the municipality of Badiraguato, Sinaloa. He was one of 9 children of Emilio Guzmán Bustillos and Maria Consuelo Lora Perez. His father was a cattle rancher and a drug trafficker, who abused his family and wasted his money on alcohol and women. His mother was a devout Catholic, who tried to protect her children from their father's violence. El Chapo grew up in poverty and hardship, living in a mud hut with no electricity or running water. He had little schooling and worked in the fields from an early age. He learned to grow marijuana and poppy plants, which his father sold to local drug dealers. He also witnessed the brutality of the drug trade, as he saw his relatives and neighbors killed or arrested by the authorities or rival gangs. El Chapo was ambitious and smart, and he wanted to escape his miserable life. He admired his uncle Pedro Aviles Perez, who was a pioneer of the Mexican drug trafficking industry and an affiliate of the Sinaloa Cartel. He also looked up to Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, another influential drug lord who was known as the Godfather of the Mexican drug world. El Chapo began his criminal career in the late 1970s, when he joined his uncle's organization and started working for Felix Gallardo. He proved his value as a loyal and efficient worker, who could transport drugs across the border using various methods, such as tunnels, planes, trucks, and cars. He also earned his nickname El Chapo, which means shorty, because of his height of 5 feet 6 inches. El Chapo quickly rose through the ranks of the cartel, becoming one of Felix Gallardo's trusted lieutenants. He supervised the movement of drugs from Sinaloa to other parts of Mexico and to the United States. He also developed contacts with Colombian drug cartels, such as Medellin and Cali, who supplied him with cocaine. El Chapo's success made him rich and powerful, but also attracted attention from his enemies and rivals. He faced threats from other drug lords, such as Rafael Caro Quintero and Ernesto Fonseca Carrillo, who were jealous of his influence and profits. He also faced challenges from the Mexican government and the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, who were determined to stop his illegal activities. El Chapo's life changed dramatically in 1989, when Felix Gallardo was arrested and sentenced to 40 years in prison. After Felix Gallardo's downfall, El Chapo became one of the leaders of the Sinaloa Cartel, which emerged as one of the most powerful criminal organizations in Mexico. El Chapo became notorious for his violence and corruption, but also for his charisma and generosity. He cultivated an image of a Robin Hood-like figure, who helped the poor and oppressed people of Sinaloa. He built roads, schools, hospitals, churches, and sports facilities for his community. He also bribed or intimidated politicians, police officers, judges, and journalists to protect his interests. El Chapo was arrested in Guatemala in June 1993, after being on the run for a year following the murder of Cardinal Juan Jesus Posadas Ocampo, who was mistaken for him by rival gunmen. He was extradited to Mexico and sentenced to 20 years in a maximum security prison called Puente Grande. But El Chapo did not let his imprisonment stop him from running his cartel. He bribed prison guards and officials to enjoy a luxurious lifestyle behind bars. He had access to cell phones, computers, TVs, and newspapers. He had his own kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom. He received visits from his family, friends, lawyers, and lovers. He even had a mistress who lived with him in prison. El Chapo also continued to oversee the operations of the Sinaloa Cartel, which expanded its influence and profits in the 1990s. He communicated with his associates through phone calls, letters, and messages smuggled by visitors. He also used his lawyers as couriers and intermediaries. He made deals with Colombian cartels to import more cocaine into Mexico and then smuggle it into the United States. He also diversified his business by producing and trafficking heroin, methamphetamine, and marijuana. El Chapo's cartel faced challenges from other Mexican cartels, such as the Tijuana Cartel, led by Ramon Oriano Felix, the Juarez Cartel, led by Vicente Carrillo Fuentes, and Los Zetas, a paramilitary group formed by former soldiers. These cartels fought for control of drug routes and territories, resulting in bloody wars that claimed thousands of lives. But El Chapo managed to survive and thrive in the 2000s, thanks to his cunning, charisma, and connections. He forged alliances with other drug lords, such as Ismael Zambada Garcia, Juan José Esparragosa Moreno, and Amado Carrillo Fuentes. He also bribed or intimidated politicians, police officers, judges, and journalists to protect his interests. El Chapo became one of the most powerful and notorious drug lords in history. On January 19, 2001, he escaped from prison in a laundry cart with the help of a prison employee. He crossed 6 security checkpoints without being detected and fled to freedom. El Chapo was on the run since July 2015, when he escaped from a high-security prison called Altiplano near Mexico City. He had been planning his escape for months, with the help of his loyal associates and his wife, Emma Coronel Ice Bureau. They had hired engineers and workers to dig a mile-long tunnel from a nearby construction site to the shower area of his cell. The tunnel was equipped with lighting, ventilation, and a modified motorcycle on rails that were used to transport dirt and tools. On July 11, 2015, El Chapo waited for the right moment to make his move. He knew that the guards were watching him on CCTV cameras, but he also knew that there was a blind spot in his cell. He pretended to take a shower and then slipped into the hole under the floor. He climbed down a ladder and entered the tunnel. He hopped on the motorcycle and sped away to freedom. He emerged from the other end of the tunnel at the construction site, where a van was waiting for him. He changed his clothes and got into the vehicle, which drove him to a nearby airstrip. There, he boarded a small plane that flew him to his stronghold in Sinaloa. El Chapo's escape was a huge embarrassment for the Mexican government and a major setback for the U.S. anti-drug efforts. A massive manhunt was launched to find him, but he proved to be elusive and resourceful. He changed his appearance frequently and used multiple aliases and fake IDs. He moved from place to place, hiding in safe houses, ranches, mountains, and tunnels. He also used sophisticated technology to avoid detection and surveillance. El Chapo resumed his leadership of the Sinaloa Cartel and expanded his empire even further. He increased his production and distribution of drugs to meet the growing demand in the U.S. market. He also established new routes and partnerships with other criminal organizations around the world. He became known as the world's most powerful drug trafficker by Forbes magazine. El Chapo also continued his violent and corrupt practices. He ordered hundreds of killings and kidnappings of his enemies and rivals. He also paid millions of dollars in bribes to officials at all levels of government. He became one of the world's most wanted fugitives, with a $5 million reward offered by the U.S. government for his capture. But El Chapo's luck was about to run out. On January 8, 2016, he was finally arrested in Los Mochis, a coastal city in Sinaloa. He was found in a condo with his wife Emma Coronel Ice Bureau and their twin daughters. He was taken to a hotel where he was identified by Mexican Marines. El Chapo's arrest was a huge victory for the Mexican government and a major breakthrough for the U.S. anti-drug efforts. He was extradited to New York on January 19, 2017, where he faced multiple charges of drug trafficking, money laundering, murder, and conspiracy. El Chapo's trial began on November 13, 2018 in Brooklyn Federal Court. It lasted for 3 months and involved more than 50 witnesses, including former associates, rivals, victims, and law enforcement agents. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence of El Chapo's crimes, including wiretaps, videos, photos, documents, weapons, drugs, and even a diamond-encrusted pistol. El Chapo's defense argued that he was not the leader of the Sinaloa Cartel, but a scapegoat for Ismael Zambada Garcia, who remained at large. They also accused the witnesses of being liars who were seeking leniency or revenge. On February 12, 2019, El Chapo was found guilty on all 10 counts against him by a jury of 8 women and 4 men. He faced life in prison without parole plus 30 years. On July 17, 2019, El Chapo was sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years by U.S. District Judge Brian Cogan. He was also ordered to forfeit $12.6 billion in assets. He was transferred to ADX Florence near Florence, Colorado, a supermax prison known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies. El Chapo's saga came to an end. He became one of the most notorious and powerful drug lords in history. But he also became one of the most isolated and powerless prisoners in the world.
Thank you for watching the Info AI. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more episodes. Also, don't forget to comment below on what topic you would like us to cover next. See you next time.